Hello and welcome to another episode of Cards Unbarred. My name's Ryan, and in this video, I'm going to teach you the 3 to 4 player trick-taking game Rewind and the expansion Tricks in My Mind, designed by Chris Ray. The components in Rewind consists of 52 playing cards, numbered 1 to 13 in 4 suits, blue, yellow, pink, and purple. The game also comes with 52 player cubes in 4 different colors, 13 of each in green, blue, yellow, and purple, as well as 1 black lightning bolt round marker, and 4 player indicator cards that are double-sided, which are only used in the expansion for Tricks in My Mind. If you are playing the base game, you will not use these 4 player cards, so return them back to the box. When playing a 3-player game, remove all 13 cards of one suit, making sure to pick anything except for the blue cassette suit. Be sure to return all 13 cubes of a player color back to the box as well. In this video, we'll be setting up for a 4-player game, so all 4 suits numbered 1 to 13 will be used. And finally, the base game comes with the main Rewind game board, and the Tricks in My Mind expansion comes with the expansion game board. As you might notice, the main game boards come folded in the box to be able to fit, and because of that, they don't really lay flat on the table unless you fold them out. So you can print off an additional sheet on BGG, which I've done here, and I've laminated it so it's nice and flat as well. For the purposes of this video, I'll be using the boards that come included with the game though. In Rewind, players will be playing 26 tricks, 13 tricks in round 1 and 13 in round 2. Round 1 consists of players placing cubes on the board depending on how they ranked in the trick, while round 2 has you aiming to remove those cubes as long as you rank in the same position you did on that trick in the first round. Players will score points based on the number of cubes left on the main game board after the 26 tricks, and the player with the least amount of points wins. To set up for a game of Rewind, first place the game board in the middle of the table. Next, each player should choose a player color and take all 13 cubes in that color. Next, shuffle the main playing card deck and deal out the cards evenly to all players. In a 3-player game, there will be 39 cards, and in a 4-player game, there will be 52 cards. This means each player should receive 13 cards in total. Players may look at the cards that were dealt to them, but make sure to keep them hidden from all other players. Next, place the black lightning bolt token above the number 1 that has the white circle around it. That token will be used to track the number of trick you are on, which you really only need for the second round of the hand. And lastly, the player to the left of the dealer will be the start player. Rewind is a trick-taking game that's made up of 2 rounds. The first round, you'll play 13 tricks in forward order, and then you'll play 13 tricks in Rewind. Rewind is also a must-follow trick-taking game, which means the lead player can look at their hand and play any 1 card from their hand, and every other player in clockwise order must play a card that matches the lead suit if possible. So the green player will be the start player for this hand, and looking at their hand here, they can choose to play any 1 card, and let's say they decide to play the 13 rollerblades. We then go clockwise to the yellow player, and if they have a rollerblade card in their hand, they must play it. In this case, they have 5 different options, and they'll decide to play this 4. Coming to the purple player, they'll have the same choice of having to play a rollerblade card if they have one, which they have 4 different cards, and they will decide to play this 8 rollerblade. And finally, the blue player will look at their hand, and they only have 2 rollerblade options, so they will decide to play this 10. Now that all players have played a card into the trick, you need to rank all 4 of the cards in order from 1st to 4th. The first thing you need to check is to see if any player played the trump suit. In Rewind, the trump suit is always the cassette cards. So anyone who plays the blue cassette suit will be trumping in on this trick and will rank higher than any cards of the lead suit or cards that were not of lead suit. In this case, all 4 players played the rollerblade suit, so no one played cassette, so we don't check that. The next thing we need to go to is lead suit, which in this case was rollerblades. All 4 players played a rollerblade, so now between those cards, we need to compare their values. The higher the number, the stronger it is, or the higher it ranks in order. So in this case, the trick is pretty straightforward. 13 is going to be number 1. And when you determine, once you've figured out which card yours is ranked, you'll take one of your player cubes and you'll place it in that space on the trick you're on. This is the very first trick of the round, so green is going to put one of their cubes in that first area. Player blue over here has a number 10, which is the second ranked card, so they'll take their cube and put it in the second place spot on the first trick. The purple player has an 8, and the yellow player has a 4, so purple will be third, and yellow will be fourth. Once all players have put their cubes on the board, you will collect your own card. Unlike normal trick-taking games, usually the winner of the trick will collect all the cards and put them in a face-down pile. In the base game of Rewind, players will keep their cards. So it's best practice to take the card you played and just put it in a face-down pile near you as you start to collect all the cards you've played in the round. As I move the entire board everywhere. And then you can move this round token to the next track. Keeping track of the tricks on the first round isn't that relevant. You really only have to worry about this until you start getting after the 13th trick. So I'm just going to put that there for now, because we can tell which trick we're on based on the cubes we're placing on the board. After that's completed though, the player who put a cube in the first space will lead the next trick. So the green player will lead the next trick again, looking at their hand and knowing again it's a must-follow trick taker. They only have one of those rollerblades cards left, so maybe they want to get rid of that now to be able to start playing other cards if someone else leads rollerblades. So in this case, rollerblades is the lead suit, so the yellow player must play a rollerblade if they have one, which again they have plenty, so maybe they want to keep being in that fourth place spot by playing a lower number. Come over to the purple player. They have a 1, 5, and 12, so they could actually rank first, or they could get into fourth, or potentially second or third, depending on what blue plays. And this is pretty much what you're comparing and deciding when you're playing cards into the trick at this point, where you're going to rank throughout these tricks, which will make more sense why you're placing here once we get to the second round of the hand. So let's just finish out this trick though. Let's say purple wants to get first. And finally, the blue player will have to play their only rollerblade since they only have that 7. So all 4 players played the same lead suit. No one played trump, so we're determining our cards in the exact same order we did before. So we have the 12 rollerblade over here is first. They will place theirs here. Green is in second, blue is in third, and yellow is in fourth. And again, players will take their own cards, putting them in that face-down stack of their previously played cards. The winner of the trick, or the person who's ranked first, will lead the next trick. And just so I can show you what happens when cards are played offsuit, I'm going to play rollerblades again. So the purple 5 is going to be played. And then blue will look at their hand, and they do not have any rollerblades. So at this point, if you can't follow lead suit, you can play any card you want from your hand. The cassettes, or the blue suit, is going to be trump and will rank higher than the lead suit, and the other suits will be ranked lower than the lead suit. So maybe the blue player wants to be ranked lower, so in this case, they're going to play this yellow 5. Coming to the green player over here, they also are out of rollerblades, so they have the option of playing anything as well, and maybe they want to be ranked higher. So they're going to play this 11 cassette. And then finally, the yellow player is looking, they do have rollerblades. So they can choose any of these. Maybe they want to go higher than that person, so they're going to go with the 6. So now we have a few different suits in the trick, and as we mentioned, cassettes is the trump suit, so this card is going to be ranked higher than any of the other cards in the trick. If there are multiple cards that are played of trump or of non-lead, you then need to check their values and compare those. If there's ever a tie, the player who played their card later into the trick would decide the order that those cards get ranked. So for example, if these were 7s, they're both off suit, so they're both going to be ranked lower than the trump and lead suit. But as far as their values that you have to compare, they're exactly the same. And in this case, the purple player led the trick, which means yellow played later into the trick. So the yellow player can determine where yellow and blue would be ranked amongst themselves. So green is going to be first, purple is going to be second, yellow decides if they're third or fourth, and blue goes into the other spot yellow didn't pick. But let's just take the trick back as the way it was. In this case, green played the trump and is ranked first. The yellow player is the next highest of lead suit. Then purple is third and blue is fourth. And trick play is going to continue like this until all 13 tricks have been played and the entire board has been filled with cubes. So I'm just going to fast forward play that you can see it happening as I complete these 13 tricks. Now that all 13 tricks have been played, that completes round 1 and we're ready to start round 2. For round 2, players will be playing 13 tricks using the exact same cards they used in round 1. That is why you collected all of your cards in piles instead of having a player collect them and reshuffle. So all 4 players will be using their same cards for 13 more tricks. And the way these tricks will work is we're now working in rewind. So all of those 13 tricks we played forward are now going to be played backwards. So this token that tracks what we're on will start to become a little more important now. Now the player who played the lowest card in the 13th trick will now lead this first trick for round 1. So in this case, the purple player will lead the first trick going in rewind. Now the rules for trick play are exactly the same as they were in round 1, but the difference here is you don't have to play the exact cards in the order that you played them going forward. So with the purple player leading the first trick, the card they would have played here isn't the thing they have to lead with. But your goal every trick in round 2 is to try and rank exactly where you ranked on that trick working back. So purple is ranked 4th in this trick, so they're trying to rank 4th again in this trick. And all 4 players are trying to do exactly the same thing. Yellow's trying to get 3rd, blue 2nd, green 1st. And so let's just start the first trick here. So purple will look at their hand and decide to play any card. Now this 1 rollerblade is what they played to get them in 4th, which seems like a good start, playing any low number card. So I think they're just going to do that now. And again, it's must follow. So the blue player looking at their hand has to play a rollerblade card, and they're trying to get 2nd place. And they only have these 2 rollerblades, the 7 and 10. There's a good chance this 10 is probably going to get them 2nd, so they're going to try that. The green player is trying to win and get 1st place here, and they only have 2 rollerblades, an 11 and 13, which are both higher than blue, so either one they play will get them ahead. But looking through the rest of the hand and where they need to place may determine which one they want to play now versus later. So let's just say they decide to do the 11. And finally, the yellow player is looking to get 3rd, and their rollerblades, they have quite a few options here. Knowing they're in 1st, they're in 2nd, and 4th, they just have to play between the 1 and the 10, which is all of their options. So again, looking forward to what they might want to keep back and to where they want to place later, knowing they're going to be 4th and 3rd and 4th and 3rd. Maybe they want to keep some of the lower ones, so they'll decide to play that 9. So now that all 4 players have played into the trick, we do the same ranking of those cards. We look to see, did anyone play trump suit? If not, then lead suit and any offsuit cards. In this case, all 4 cards are of lead suit, so we simply check their values. Green played the 11, blue with the 10, yellow with 9, purple with 1. If you manage to play a card that matches where you ranked on that trick, you will remove the cube from this area. So let's just do all of that now for the players. And if multiple players take their cubes off, the player whose cube was the highest up on the column will place their cube in the tiebreaker box. This will be important if after these 13 tricks and you tally up your points, if any players are tied, whoever has the most cubes in this tiebreaker box will win. If there's a tie for the tiebreaker, then all players will just share the victory at that point. But after all cubes have been removed from that area, you'll move the token down to the next trick. And at this point, players don't need to keep hold of their cards because you're just playing this one time through and that's the end of the game. So all 4 cards played in the trick can just be put off to the side for now. And the player that won that previous trick will lead the next trick. So green is going to lead the next trick, and they're trying to rank 3rd in this one. So coming back over to their hand, looking to see what might get them 3rd. Maybe they're going to try a nice middle card here, so they're going to go 7 yellow. The yellow player, looking at their hand, they're trying to get 4th place, and they've got these 4 yellow options. They're going to go with a lower number. Purple needs to get 2nd, and they only have 2 options for yellow, which currently this would get them 2nd, and they're not too sure what blue's going to play, but they know blue needs to be 1st. So they're going to decide to actually play that 10 yellow and hope that blue can play above them. In this case, blue has the 11 sunglasses, so they'll be able to sneak that in there and get ahead. So again, after we rank all of the cards, blue is 1st, purple is 2nd, green is 3rd, and yellow is 4th. So everyone was successful in completing their thing, so they will take their cubes off. And the person who took the highest cube up, which in this case was blue, will place their cube in a tiebreaker box. Now, to give that a bit more of an example, because at this point everyone's been taking their cubes off, let's just say on this next trick, only green and blue removed their cubes. The purple and yellow one would stay, but because green was ranked higher up than blue, greens would go in the tiebreaker box. Just giving another example on that, if it was yellow and blue, yellow was higher up, so yellow would go in the tiebreaker box. If it was purple and green, purple would go in the tiebreaker box because they're higher up. It's always the one that was ranked higher that could remove theirs. Now again, the cards would clear, and blue would lead the next trick. And trick play will continue like this until you've gone through all 13 tricks and you've reached to the final column. So after all 13 tricks of round 2 are completed, now is when you calculate the score. For every cube remaining on the 1st place row is worth 2 points, and every cube left on the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th row is worth 1 point. You do not want points, as points are bad, because the player with the lowest score will win. So in this case, purple has 8 points, green has 5 points, blue has 6 points, and yellow has 3 points. The lowest amount of points would win, so in this case, yellow has won the game. As I mentioned, if there's ever a tie for that calculation, you then check the tiebreaker box, and whoever has the most number of cubes here would win, and if there's a tie, then the players would share the victory. The Tricks in My Mind expansion is a 4-player only version of Rewind, and the first thing you'll do to set up is remove the 11 to 13 in all 4 suits. This will leave you with 40 playing cards, numbered 1 to 10 in the 4 suits. Next, place the Tricks in My Mind main board in the middle of the table. Then shuffle the main playing card deck and deal 10 cards to each player. Players may look at these cards, but make sure to keep them hidden from all other players. Next, have all players choose a player color and take 10 cubes of that color. And finally, before trick play can begin, each player will pass 1 card to each other player. So in the end, you'll pass 3 cards, 1 to your left, 1 to your right, and 1 across. After all passing is completed, the player who has the 1 cassette, the blue 1 card in their hand, will be the start player for trick play. Hand that player the card that shows player 1 on it, and in clockwise order, give each player the number that's 1 higher. So in this case, the purple player had it, so they're player 1, blue is player 2, green is player 3, and yellow is player 4. After you've handed these cards out, you can flip them to their other side, as the Tricks 1 box will be the important part during trick play. It also does list which player they are at the very top part of the card. Tricks in My Mind is also a must-follow trick taker. The main difference here, though, is there's no trump suit. So the 4 suits are all equal to each other. If somebody cannot follow suit and they were to play a cassette card, it will be considered offsuit, it won't be trump. So the purple player decides to play the 10 rollerblades. Coming to blue, they don't actually have any rollerblades, so again, if they played that, they're going to be offsuit instead of trumping in. We come to the green player, and they will play the 6 rollerblade. And finally, the yellow player only has the 1 rollerblade, so they'll play the 5. After everyone's played a card in the trick, You simply look to see who has won the trick. You don't need to rank cards from first to fourth. You just see who's in first. In this case, the purple player has played the highest lead suit card, which is the 10. So they will take one of their cubes and place it in their Tricks 1 box. All other players that lost the trick will now place one of their cubes on the main game board in one of the betting areas. Each section of the board, which I'll go over shortly, has a column for each player. Your player number is listed on your player card. So in this case, green is player 3. So wherever they go, they need to make sure they go into the player 3 area of that section. Generally, this part of placing cubes on the board is done simultaneously by those 3 players. However, if something does need to be done in order based on where someone goes that could impact somebody, any one of these 3 players can call for a turn order, in which case turn order is done clockwise from the player that won the trick. So player 1 has won, so it would go player 2, player 3, then player 4. Now if we zoom in on the main game board here, you'll see the different things that players are betting on. As you can see in the top area, it's all about player bets and who you think is going to win the most tricks, who's going to win the final trick, and who's going to miss their trick bid, which is something you can do down over here. One thing to keep in mind, these bids are things that you're going for round 2 of trick play. The 10 tricks we're doing now during round 1 are setting up all these bids to then prepare yourself for round 2 when you play tricks again. Just like regular Rewind, you're playing 2 hands, you're playing the same set of cards twice, but instead of ranking yourself first to fourth like you do in the base game, in this version, Tricks in My Mind, you're placing your cubes on different areas to bet of things that you think are going to happen in that second part of the hand. So when you see something like win the most tricks, you're picking which player you think out of those 10 tricks in the second round, who's going to win the most. Now, this only being the very first trick of the hand, I don't think any player has an idea of how strong or weak someone's hand are, so someone may not want to bet for that yet. Same thing with winning the final trick or missing their trick bid, since no one's even made a bid yet. Going to the next row here is suit bets. So deciding what your final card is going to be played in the trick, that's something you might be able to do early on, because that just means you look at your hand and you think, well, maybe I have a lot of one suit, so I'll be able to hold on to those cards. Next is which suit you think is going to win the final trick. Doesn't matter which player, it's just the card itself that's going to win. And lastly, you're going to win the most of. So in the second round, you're actually going to collect cards. And this is checking when you look through your cards, all the captured tricks, which suit will you have the most of. The last 2 ones here, you have rank bets. The first one is your final card. So the last card you play, you can decide which suit it will be, but you can also say what number it will be. And same thing with winning the final trick. Which number do you think will win? And lastly, we have the round tricks, which is how many tricks will you win out of those 10? Some additional clarifications on betting. Players can have multiple bets in an area except for the round 2 tricks area. You can only ever have 1 bet in that spot. Ties are also friendly for wins most tricks bet, so there can be multiple payouts if multiple players have that. And additionally, the no single suit payout area pays out if you have a tie or 0 cards for the most of a suit. And lastly, a player can bet that they will miss their own round 2 trick bid. So now that we've gone over the different parts of the board, we would look back at the 3 players deciding where to place their cubes. Now this step is also optional. So if you're not sure where you'd want to place a bet, you don't have to do it. However, there's no negative points for incorrectly bidding something. You just won't score positively for doing so. Additionally, once a cube is placed on a row, no other cubes can be placed on that row in future tricks. Multiple players can do it during the same trick. So we're on trick 1. If blue and green both wanted to go on that row and say the final card they're playing is going to be a cassette blue card, they can do that because this is being placed on the same trick. But if blue didn't place there, and these cards were cleared and the next trick was played, and now they wanted to put it there, it'd be too late because it's already a later trick. You have to do it on the same one. And that's why Placing cubes simultaneously versus turn order could matter. Depending on where somebody goes, you might want to know that information before you decide to place a cube. So with all of that in mind, let's just say blue decides to put their cube on win the most of. They think they're going to win a lot of pinks. And green's final card is going to be a yellow. And yellow is saying they're... what does yellow want to do? Yellow's going to say the final trick 1 is going to be 1 with a 3. These are all probably terrible bets. It's only been the first trick, and we haven't seen a lot of information. I didn't really look at their hands, but that's what they're going to do. So now the trick's been completed and cubes have been placed on the board. All players will take the card they played, putting it face down in front of them, and the player that won the trick will lead the next trick. You'll do this until all 10 tricks are played, and you'll have multiple cubes on the board, in which case players will then pick up all of their cards that they played for the 10 tricks, and the person who won that last trick will lead the next trick. Unlike Rewind, where it's the lowest ranked card, it's just continuing on. And you'll replay those 10 tricks. So then after the 10 tricks are completed, you will look to see where all the cubes are, and any incorrectly placed cubes will get removed from the board. All that are remaining will score value equal to the top left corner in that box. So your bid of the number of tricks you'll take is 3 points. Rank bets is 2. Suit bets are all 1. Player bets are 1, except for winning the final trick, that's 2 points. We've now completed the first 10 tricks, and the board looks like this, along with the player's trick 1 area. All players would now collect the 10 cards back into their hand and play out the last 10 tricks. At this point, when a player wins a trick, they will collect all 4 cards and put them in a stack in front of them to show they have won a single trick. If you win multiple tricks, make sure to stack them separately so you can keep track of the number of tricks you've won at any time. After all 10 tricks of round 2 are completed, check each area to see if each player has successfully completed that bet or not. So let's say this is the last trick. Blue plays the 10, green plays this 1, yellow plays a 6, and purple plays a 3. Now this is the lead suit. No one else played higher, so blue is going to win this last trick. And now we need to calculate all of the things based on this card winning and each player and what card they played based on their bet. So the first thing being winning the most tricks, you would check everyone's stacks of piles that they've won to determine who has the most. And let's just say blue, player 2, has the most tricks. In this case, player 4 is the only one who successfully bet that player 2 would win the most tricks. So blue and green would remove their cubes, and yellow is going to get 1 point for that successful bet. Next, we would go to wins the final trick. In this case, it was player 2. So anyone that bet player 2 would leave their cube. All other cubes would get removed. Anyone that misses their trick bid, you would have to come down to the round 2 tricks and look to see what that player made as a bet for the number of tricks for the round. In this situation, player 1 said player 4 was going to miss their trick bid, and player 4 took 2 tricks. Player 2 bid 2, so they were successful, so the purple player would remove their cube. Player 2 said player 1 was going to miss their bid, and player 1 only took 2 tricks. Player 1 bid on 3 tricks, but they only took 2, so this is a correct bet, so they will leave it there. Coming to the final card area, player 1 said their suit would either be the pink skates or the purple TVs. In this case, it was a pink skate, so they'll keep that 1 cube but remove the other. Going over here to player 3, they said they'd play a TV, which is purple, which is correct. And player 4 was going to do a blue cassette, which they did not, so that gets removed. And you would do this for the rest of them, so I will just remove those cubes accordingly. All cubes remaining will score based on their value in the top left corner of that box. All cubes left on player trick 1 spaces are worth half a point each. If you have an odd number, it is just going to be half a point. So in this case, this would be 1.5 points. The combined total between the main board and the trick 1s is your final score, and the player with the most points wins. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play Rewind and the expansion, Tricks in My Mind. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching.